He didn't hear the impact, he felt it. A sudden jolt ripped Lawrence Beesley out of his sleep. A vibration rolled through the ship like something massive had brushed against steel. He sat up in the darkness of his second-class cabin, heart pounding. Silence, no alarm, no shouting, just the steady hum of the Titanic's engines pushing through the freezing Atlantic. Lawrence opened his door. Men in pajamas stood in the corridor, confused, half awake, mumbling about a strange bump. No one seemed worried. Some were even laughing. Then a steward walked down the hallway, slowly, calmly, and said in a voice that tried a little too hard to sound relaxed, "Please put on your life jackets and come to the boat deck." No explanation, no urgency, but something in his tone was wrong. Lawrence tightened his life jacket. As he headed toward the upper deck, he didn't know that on the other side of the ship, a young woman would soon be thrown headfirst into a lifeboat by a complete stranger. He would force her into safety because he knew he wouldn't be getting in, and while she lived to tell the world what he did, his name was never recorded. To understand how a night begins with a quiet vibration and ends with a sacrifice, we need to go back to the moment the Titanic left port. Just 3 days earlier, Southampton. The Titanic didn't look like a ship. It looked like a building, a floating palace, almost 900 feet long, 8 decks, grand staircases, electric elevators, a dining room the size of a ballroom. Newspapers called it unsinkable. Passengers called it immortal. Lawrence Beesley wasn't rich. He was a school teacher. Logical, grounded, observant, he walked the hallways with quiet awe, plush carpets, brass railings, a library, a smoking room, the kind of luxury he had only read about, and yet even he couldn't escape the mood on board. Everyone felt invincible. The first-class passengers lived like royalty. The steerage passengers were packed like cargo. One ship, 2 worlds. And no one cared that there weren't enough lifeboats, just 20 boats for more than 2,200 people. When someone questioned it, an officer reportedly replied, "Don't worry, the Titanic is unsinkable." People believed it. April 14th, 1912. The ocean was too calm. Experienced sailors called it a dead calm sea. No waves, no wind, and that was deadly. Because without waves hitting the base of an iceberg, there was no white foam to reveal its shape. All day, the Titanic's radio operators received warnings. Ice ahead, large ice field, slow down. But the radio room was overwhelmed. Wealthy passengers were spamming personal telegrams to New York, birthday messages, business deals, gossip, messages from other ships stacked up. And then the final warning came through: "We are surrounded by ice." Stop the Titanic's radio operator was exhausted. He replied, "Shut up. I am busy, not rude. Just overwhelmed." But that response changed history. At 11:40 p.m., 2 lookouts, Frederick Fleet and Reginald Lee, spotted something in the dark. A black shape. "Iceberg, right ahead!" The ship turned sharply. Too sharply. Instead of hitting the iceberg head-on, which the Titanic actually could have survived, the sides scraped against the ice. The collision sounded like a dull tear. Underwater, steel plates buckled. 5 compartments flooded. The Titanic could survive 4, not 5. When Lawrence reached the open deck, he expected chaos. Instead, he saw stars. The night sky was perfect. The ship stood still, quiet, peaceful. A man kicked around pieces of ice that had fallen onto the deck and joked, "Anyone want a souvenir?" Passengers smiled, posed for photos, pulled blankets tighter around themselves. Some refused to wear life jackets, afraid of looking silly. Then came a chilling command: women and children first. But the boats didn't look safer than the Titanic. They were tiny, wooden, trembling in the air. The ship was brightly lit, music played. Why leave? Lawrence watched officers argue with passengers. "Get in the lifeboat. This ship cannot sink. It is only a precaution." Many boats went down half empty. Capacity, 65 people. Actual, sometimes 12. A woman shouted as her boat lowered, "We'll come back for the men later." People believed that. They truly thought the Titanic would wait for them. And while lifeboats floated away, half full, Men in third class were locked behind gates, trying to reach the upper decks before water reached them. The value of your life was measured by your ticket. While Lawrence hesitated, unsure whether to enter a lifeboat or stay, a young woman, the survivor whose account appeared in the Süddeutsche Zeitung, was trapped in a crowd. People were shoving, yelling, climbing over one another, terrified of being left behind. An officer shouted, "Stand back, women and children!" But panic makes humans forget rules, and then a man stepped forward, not panicking, not shouting. He was dressed neatly, wearing gloves and a long coat, calm eyes, steady voice. He looked at the young woman and asked, "Are you alone?" Before she could answer, he lifted her by the waist. She gasped, her feet left the deck, and then he threw her headfirst into the lifeboat. She slammed onto the wooden bench, dazed, wind knocked out of her. Women screamed. She scrambled up and looked back for him. He didn't try to follow. He didn't ask for thanks. He stepped away and disappeared into the mass of passengers. He didn't survive. No one ever recorded his name. In survivor lists and eyewitness accounts, he is remembered only as the gentleman. Water reached the stairs behind Lawrence Beesley. He realized this wasn't a drill. A lifeboat lowered. A man next to him hesitated. "If you don't go now, you'll never go," someone whispered. Lawrence didn't think. He moved. He stepped into the boat. When it dropped toward the ocean, he felt weightless, powerless, guilty. Out on the water, everything looked surreal. The Titanic was glowing against the night sky. Music drifted across the waves. The band kept playing. Not upbeat tunes anymore. Something slow, gentle, almost like a prayer. Passengers later argued over the last song. Most believe it was, "Nearer, my God, to thee." Then, the music stopped. Lights flickered, steel groaned. The stern rose into the air like a skyscraper. Then the ship broke. The sound wasn't an explosion. It was a deep, horrifying roar, like the ocean tearing itself open. Within minutes, the Titanic disappeared and finally gone. Silence, then screaming. Hundreds of voices crying for help. Lifeboats floated nearby, safe, stable, half empty. People begged, "Turn back," but officers refused. "If we go back, they'll swamp the boat." Voices in the dark, choking on freezing water. Lawrence listened, powerless. "We sat and heard them die," he later wrote. Minutes passed, the screams faded, silence returned. The ocean didn't look violent, it looked calm, peaceful, beautiful, but beneath that still surface were 1,500 people, and only 705 survived. Hours later, a ship appeared, the Carpathia. Dawn revealed faces soaked with salt, shock, and disbelief. Lawrence Beesley survived. The young woman survived. The gentleman did not. His story lived only because she repeated it to reporters. "A gentleman threw me head first into the boat. He didn't run, he didn't beg, he didn't try to cheat his way into a seat. He made a choice, his life or hers. And that choice, made in a freezing night on a sinking ship, echoed longer than any orchestra or luxury or steel. The Titanic is remembered for tragedy. We remember the Titanic for tragedy. But we should also remember it for moments like this, when, at the edge of death, someone chose courage, and a single act of sacrifice changed the course of one life forever.